Hey guys, episode 4 of BJ on Gameday. Brent Hampton and Josh King here. Tonight we're discussing the Roosters, the Warriors, Panthers and the Dragons. That'll cover all 16 teams and then we'll get onto the team list Tuesday next week. First up we've got the Roosters and the star that they've recruited, James Tedesco.
Yeah mate, Jimmy Tedesco, not much you can really need to say about him, to be honest. He's priced in at just under 600k. Very relevant in Supercoach. I think he's not necessarily a must-have, but he almost is. He's moving into a Roosters backline that's very potent. They've got some experience now in the halves, given they've signed Cronk. He was doing some amazing things at the Tigers last year, pretty much on his own. There's an argument to be made that maybe Cronk going there and some other good players, he might see less ball, but I don't see that being the case. I think he's just going to be given more room, more time, more options with players around him, and he's very much in my team.
I don't really mind if he sees less ball because I think he's going to see more quality ball.
Yeah.
Players like Cronk, look, no disrespect towards Luke Brooks and Mitchell Moses when they're at the Tigers, but there was just something not right about that team. Teddy just did it all on his own. I think with Cronk there now, you look at how Billy Slater's thrived at the Melbourne Storm, with him by his side. I think we're going to get something similar. He's in my team. He was my fullback pick. Obviously, Tommy Turbo is about 80 grand more expensive. There's arguments there to have both in. I think you've either got to have one or the other. Yeah. I think they are that good of players and that far ahead of the other fullbacks in the comp, except maybe Billy Slater, that you've got to have one of the two in there, and I've gone with Teddy. Boyd Cordner, their captain, recently signed for another 5 years. He's just always there. 80-minute player, line breaks here and there, tries here and there. Base is always going to be pretty solid. Is there much more to say?
Not really, mate. He's a staple in that Chooks outfit, and I think he's going to be a bit of a pod.
Yeah.
His price makes him a little bit harder to pick. He's not premium, but he's not cheap enough.
Yeah.
He's a good pick, but again, Cronk there, he can hit those short balls really well, hits those lines really well. I think he's a really good option, and
I think Cronk coming in, Cronk loves the short ball. He loves to team up with his second rowers. I don't think Mitchell Pearce was as effective as that, but I think that's something Cronk can really bring in. Cronk can play left or right. Obviously, he just runs the show, as he did in Melbourne. And I think that can really benefit Cordner and the Roosters.
Absolutely, I agree, mate.
Moving into their centres, Latrell Mitchell. What are your thoughts on Latrell?
Oh, mate. Every time I look at him, I just see a young Greg Inglis.
Yeah.
Big, rangy, fast, strong. Starting to look like he might be reaching that potential that everyone talks about. Last season, he really, whilst there was that period there where he got dropped, basically, once he came back, he sort of shown that he's going to be a star of the future.
There has been that talk about his discipline.
Yeah.
I think, provided he can get that discipline under control and the training ethic is completely 100%, then I just see him as being someone who's relevant in our game for the next 10 or 12 years. I think he's big, he's strong, he's fast, and he's got all the makings, as you talked about, as a young GI.
Yeah, mate. I mean, at the moment, I don't have him in my team because my approach this year is a bit slim in the centres. But he's a guy, again, I'm going to really cringe when I have to watch him Supercoach-wise when I'm coming up against people that have him, because he's got so much potential. The word is he's going to be kicking goals when Takiaho's off the field, so we'll touch on Takiaho, but that as well. I think he's a really good option in the centre wings this year.
You talked about Takiaho. Plenty of people this week have been talking about him. There is that word that he's going to replace Jarrell Hargraves in the front row to start. Look, that can be only good things. He's, attacking wise, he's not much of a threat, but he's got good base. He does kick goals when he's out there. They don't have a noted goal kicker, a superstar goal kicker, but whenever he's done the job, he's got it taken care of. Yeah,
mate, absolutely, I agree. His base, I don't know what his points per minutes are, even if they're around a point a minute, which is fine. If he's playing 40 or 50 minutes, basically the addition of a couple of goals a week, if he's going to be kicking goals, he's going to be scoring about 50 plus points anyway, which is fine. There's been a lot of talk about him this week. I personally don't have him in my side. But he's another guy around that 400k price that you could take the plunge on.
Yep.
It'd be nice if it was a little bit cheaper, but
he's just in that awkward position. Similar thing to Daniel Alvaro at Parramatta. When you got blokes in the front row like Matthew Lodge, that's been supposedly got a spot. Leilani Latu, Kane Evans, those kind of guys who can get 35 or 40 minutes as well. Do you take the risk with someone like Takiawa or Alvaro, who are probably better players in that position, better points per minute, but you're paying 150k extra? Yeah,
I guess the issue is he needs to play like 60 or 70 minutes to start getting those better scores that you'd probably want of someone around like 450, 500. If he's getting like 70 minutes, he'll be really good value.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things none of us will be able to guess. We'll just have to wait and see what happens early, and you'll have to keep an eye on him. Personally, I haven't considered him. I just like a different sort of style of player. But he's definitely an option. That aside, I think he's possible.
Let's talk about their co-captain in Jake Friend. Obviously, again, we touched on it last week with alternatives to Cameron Smith. So many people are starting with Cameron Smith this year. Looking for a point of difference, that kind of player. Is Friend it?
Yeah, mate, I mean, potentially. He was one of the best hookers in the game after Cameron Smith last year on averages. My concern will be whether he can play big minutes, like he can play 80 minutes if he needs to, but they potentially won't do that. Robinson seems to be putting, last year it was Watson and even Victor Radley at times, who is going to be there again this year. Just give him that 5 or 10 minutes. That being said, even if he's playing 65-70, he's still very much an option. And for the amount he is compared to someone like Smith, it makes him something you really need to consider if you want trying to free up some cash. So he's solid, makes 50 tackles every week, if not more. Can offer some attacking stats every now and then, but definitely an alternative at the hooker if you're looking for something different.
If we fly across the ditch to the Warriors, obviously a team stacked with plenty of talented players. Haven't really lived up to that to the last season or two, or ever. Let's start with SJ. Sean Johnson in the half. Look, he's just become someone that you can sort of set and forget. I think the roller coaster years are gone, much like Milford. They've just become so professional at their job. He turns up week in, week out, and just averages that 60 to 70. You get the games where he might drop to 40, but he throws in the tons as well. Yeah,
mate, absolutely. He seems to be able to. His floor is only maybe 30 or 40, where in the past it could have been 10 or 15.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy though that with 10 minutes to go, he could be on 20 points and finish on 80. So he's still a roller coaster a little bit in that sense. He's probably a bit more consistent with his floor now, like it's not as low. But I can guarantee you last season he was still doing that where mid-game you'd have a look, or towards the end of the game he's on 30 and he finishes on a ton. He's a big price at 640k. He's got that duality between both the half positions, which is really useful.
That's his key.
Yeah.
That's his key, I think, in Supercoach, is that duality. To be able to switch and change that around, I think that's the big thing for him. Yeah,
and I like that style. I just like his style, same as Milford. I like to watch those guys and have those guys in my team, Supercoach. So I'm running SJ to start off with, and I'm on the. It might not be such a big roller coaster, but I'm still on that little bit of roller coaster.
Moving into their back row, they've got two gun back rowers in Tohu Harris, which they've signed from the Melbourne Storm, and Simon Mannering. Let's start with Tohu. What does he bring into that team? We saw him. He's not as consistent as I like to see in a back rower, but that's because I think he can be that good. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I guess going to the Warriors, he offers them potentially something they've needed for a long time, and that's, well, maybe not actually now that I think about it, but that sort of strike on the edge. I mean, they had it in Bodine Thompson the last couple of years, but he's he's gone now. I don't actually know what happened with Bodine Thompson.
He's gone to the UK somewhere. I know he signed with one of the UK teams.
So the Warriors haven't always needed it, and they've had Mannering there, but I think he's still relatively young, and they can start to firm up a good combo with, say, SJ and himself. RTS out the back, maybe. I think they can build around that, and he's not as much of a base back rower, so that being said, his base is okay, but you are going to rely on him for attacking stats to produce those good scores. But I think if you're going to go to any side to get attacking stats, one of the best players you can be running off or run around is SJ, and potentially RTS out the back, in my opinion. He's 517k or 520k. A lot of people are doubting him, going over there thinking he's sort of squashed himself in terms of Supercoach. I don't see that personally, and I think he's definitely a very potential option to pick in the back row still.
Okay. Moving to Simon Mannering, I've got Mannering in my team. He was one of the first back rowers I've had picked, purely because I'm trying to learn my lesson from last season when I didn't have him all season, and he just averaged 70. He just, every week, it'd be 60, 70 or 80 he'd put on the board. He's so reliable, he's so consistent, you know the base is there, and he throws in the odd attacking stat every now and then. Can you see him in your team?
Mate, I guess I've just been put off by the price. He's that price for a reason. He's a gun. He's up there with your Gallen. He's an unsung hero really, but he's an absolute Supercoach gun. Like I said, the price is just a bit too much for me this year, given the approach I've gone. I've gone a little bit different with where I've spent that sort of money. There's been some concern about where he's going to play, because he was playing in the middle and getting a heap of tackles and a heap of runs and hit-ups and that sort of thing last year. I think he was in one of the trials, he was playing on the edge, so he wasn't as involved, and if he's not in the middle, he's a little bit of a different prospect. He'll still have unreal base and like attacking ability out on an edge, but he's a little bit of a different prospect. So at 660k or whatever he's at, I'll be having a look at him. If I had him in my team, I'd want to have a really good look at him in that first couple of weeks to see what he ends up actually doing. But gun 100%.
You mentioned RTS. Last season he came back from the knee surgery. Came back quite well. I was actually impressed by him last season. I think in a poor Warriors outfit, he was someone that actually looked good. I don't think he's ever hit the same heights that he did at the Roosters, and I'm not too sure why. I don't know whether that's an individual or a team thing. He hasn't really been talked about this season. A lot of the talk is, again, about Teddy and Turbo and those kind of guys. I mean, considering that forgotten nature behind him, is he a pod?
Absolutely, mate. This guy's one of my favourite players to watch in terms of just raw rugby league ability. He came to the Warriors with massive expectation and got given the captaincy straight up. Everyone knew what he could do and what he did do at the Roosters the year before. I'm wondering now that he's been over there for a little while and he didn't deliver it last year as much. He was still really good in patches. That now that expectation isn't as much there, that he's going to excel again. An extra year to build that combination with SJ. I think he's an unreal pod. I don't have him, but I would love to go him. But I would recommend him highly. I think he's going to be an awesome pod just for the reasons that you've mentioned. He offers a cheaper alternative to a Teddy or a Turbo. He's got unreal...
He's got the same ability.
Yeah, man.
He does. He does have the same ability. Yeah. I mean, you talked about it. He's one of the most exciting players to watch out on the park. He just needs to find it. He just needs to be able to produce it like they have.
If you give him space, he's one of the best players in the comp. If they can just figure out how to give him a little bit more room, which they struggled with at times last year, he's going to be an awesome prospect, Supercoach-wise.
Now, one a little bit cheaper on the Warriors list that a few people have been talked about, ownership percentage is pretty high, is Peter Hickard. Yeah. New Zealand international. When he went to fullback for Manly a few seasons ago when Brett Stewart was out, he was brilliant. He is a brilliant player. I'm not too sure what's happened in the last couple of seasons, whether he's got a little bit lost and that. He finds himself at the Warriors this season. A centre position is going to be his. What do we expect from him this season?
Yeah, I guess you're going to get your ups and downs with him, like you do with any centre, but I think the ups could be really ups, like big ceilings. Again, he's in a side that's going to feature the likes of SJ, RTS, even Tohu Harris, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on those guys attacking wise, and he could be someone that's forgotten about that could be really dangerous in terms of scoring points. I do see him having those weeks where he blows up, and at 270k, he's an awesome cow prospect if he can knock down a starting spot. He's not like a base. He's not going to have a really good base and that sort of stuff, and you're going to have your weeks where he stitches you up with a 20 or a 30.
Yeah. But
you're also going to have those unreal weeks with him, I reckon, and hopefully maybe more often than not. So I like him as an option this year, 100%.
Let's shift across to the Panthers. A team that has performed terribly in the trials, but as we all know, they're trials. They've gotten rid of a few people. They've brought a couple of people in. One bloke that everyone's talking about, not so much from a Supercoach point of view, but from how good he is and how young he is and the New South Wales jumpers and things like that, is Nathan Cleary. Obviously had a great year last year. Jimmy Maloney comes on board this year for the Panthers. Do you see that helping him? Does it affect him? Does Maloney kick the goals? Does Cleary kick the goals? They're both brilliant goal kickers. You know, what are your thoughts on Cleary this season?
I guess, mate, it's the same sort of question that you've got with a few combinations this year. So you think about Teddy going to the Roosters, you think about Ben Hunt going to the Dragons and how they'll impact on the
Knights. Yep.
Pierce going to the Knights, and this is another one of those things. When Supercoach first opened, I had Cleary in like pretty much straight away.
Yep.
Then I started to think about it a bit more and talk myself out of it because of Maloney's arrival. So I mean, there's no doubt about it, he's a quality half, quality up and comer, and he's a player of the future. His attacking potential is unbelievable. Like if you go and have a look at last year and just his attacking stats are through the roof. He scored 160 last year. He finished the season in absolutely like crazy form. He kicks the goals, he takes the line on, he scores tries, that sort of thing. I'm really not sure what the Maloney factor will do. I think it takes a little bit of pressure off him, but Supercoach wise, that's not necessarily going to be good for him having Maloney there. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, the biggest thing about Penrith this year is frustration with what are they going to do. The last couple of years they've promised so much. They had Bryce Cartwright there, he's gone. They had Matt Moylan there, he's gone. So many things there, that base they built from their juniors. We were talking about them as taking out the premiership last year. The big thing was Penrith and was the Raiders, and they just didn't perform.
True.
Look, this year I think Maloney is just a professional. Every team he's ever gone to has been a winning culture. He's created that. He's an absolute lunatic, but people love playing with him. I think what it does for Cleary is actually take a lot of the attention away from him, from an on-the-field point of view. I think if teams are looking at Maloney or at both of them rather than just Cleary, I think it might just get him those few extra stats each match that we think may be going to disappear with Maloney. I think, look, he may not run the play as much, but he may be even more lethal when he is running it because Maloney people are thinking about. So, look, I'm not too sure. The honest answer is I'm not sure. 620k, I just think, look, with Thurston at 530, he's in there for me. I've got Milford, a few of those other people. Again, he's probably one I'll wait and see on, but I could regret it.
I think his price makes him a little bit hard. 620 because he finished the season in some unreal form. But he's definitely one of those premium halves you could start with that could end up being the difference between you going really well overall and not. It's just trying to pick the right one. And I'd like to think he'll keep the goal kicking for long term. Maloney's probably more of a short term buy, so I'd imagine he'll keep goal kicking.
Let's talk about Maloney. Obviously, he's come to the team. He's at 430,000. Look at Cronulla, at the Roosters. as much as we talk about him being that premiership player, about how he is a part of winning teams, Supercoach relevancy, he's never really been one of the top tier players. With Cleary there now, I still don't see him as that, but he may be that kind of pod someone's looking for.
Yeah, I think he's a nice-ish price at 430 odd K. He offers an alternative again to some premium price halves if you want to go in. There's going to be weeks where he does produce some really good scores, but there's also, I think, going to be some weeks where he produces some low scores. And that's the thing with a lot of players, you know. You got to take the good with the bad, but I think at his price, you could go him, and he's a really good option, and stack somewhere else. He's definitely a viable option, and he's gone to a team with some attacking options and stuff like that as well. So
my only concern, and the reason why I don't find him relevant, and I probably won't even consider him, is that we talk about Cleary having that goal kicking role. That was something Maloney had at the Sharks. Now, while the Sharks have never been the most attacking football team, you could still sort of guarantee him for hitting 3 or 4 goal kicks a week, and that's 12 or 16 points. Now, that's a big difference between an average of 55 and an average of 40, you know. So I think he may even drop this season in price because he'll probably lose that goal kicking ability.
Yeah, and I mean, would you say he was the leading playmaker at Cronulla last year?
The leading creator, yes. Yeah. The leading playmaker, no. I think he did fill that 6 role more. I think Chad Townsend was the leading playmaker. But again, Cronulla really is I don't think they're as relevant attacking wise as he is now at Penrith. But yeah, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I think maybe the more I think about it, the halves positions are so crucial in Supercoach. You're probably better off spending an extra 100 or 150 to get a quality half that is going to be able to blow up a bit more. Yeah. He will have those scores, he does also have those low ones. So, yeah, the more I think about it, maybe you are better off spending, like I said, an extra couple $100,000 to get a genuine gun. But, yeah, he's a sneaky little player difference, if you want. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Trent Merrin. Trent Merrin, look, he's toned up over the off-season. He's dropped a bit of weight. He had a bit of a down season last year compared to what we normally come to expect. He's really sort of fallen out of that Blues origin sort of fold. I think he's due for a bounce back year. He's 520 odd K, which for someone of his calibre, look, there has been years where he's averaged in the 70s. If he can find the minutes again, if he can find, I don't know, just that thing that he was missing last year, I think he's definitely one to have a look at.
Yeah, 2016 he had a big PPM and was averaging good minutes. So he was averaging 67 minutes and PPM was point per minute was 1.1. If that's what you're getting out of a 65, 70 minute back rower, that's unreal. And if he can return to that, I think the minutes, he's going to be a guy that becomes very relevant again. He's got good footwork late and close to the line. He's got an offload, he can get away. He does get the occasional line break or something, you know. He is a really creative player. I think whatever happened with, doing a Merrin with Sally Fitzgibbons and whatever, obviously did something to him last year. Yeah. And I'd like to think that's sort of behind him now. And I read an article the other day that he's had one of the best off seasons he's had. And I
think honestly that might have taken a lot of his focus away from football. I think but I think he became more socially media relevant and things like that with her. It just sort of adds that little bit more pressure. Obviously now that's all sort of gone, I think he can get his mind back on footy and bounce back.
Yeah, mate, I like him. I think he's a good alternative for his price to some of the premiums, and I am taking a punt on him. The cat's out of the bag.
Fair enough. Now I want to talk about Sauce, Joshy Mansour. Look, I looked up his stats earlier today and I actually thought he was better than he is. He's got solid stats the last few years. Obviously a lot of injury concerns over his career. He's someone I've got in my team at the moment. At 450,000, he's someone I'm keen to have a punt on in the centre wing spot. I think he's due for another sort of year. he's been left out of the Aussie squad. Obviously, Valentine Holmes has taken that wing spot. Ferguson's in there, blokes like that. I think he may just sort of want to bounce back and just say, look, hang on, I am that Aussie winger that everyone sort of expected. I think the tackle bus will come back. I think the line breaks will come back. And at 450k, he's by no means a cheap centre winger. But I'm keen to get him in there. Yeah,
I guess the big thing, and everyone's been saying it, is the fact that he's outside Peachy. And that was the same as the end of last year. But you said it, he's got the tackle bus. He's got that pedigree, and I think he needs to be. He needs to probably try and get back into that New South Wales sort of rep space, and to do that, he's going to have to get back to that good form, as you say. And I mean, it doesn't take much for him to pump out a 70 plus. Like, if he scores one try, because of how good he is with his tackle bust and all that sort of stuff, he blows up real quick. If you have a look at his stats last year, even though he had a relatively, some would say, quiet year, especially through the middle, there was 3 out of 4 games, even 5 out of 6, where the 3 out of the 4 he scored over 100, and the 4 of the 6 was 97 or above. So, he's a goodish price. I think he's a good option. Peachy does worry me, but if he comes in sniffing for the ball like he tends to, he could still be a good option, and hopefully they'll drop Peachy and put someone else. I mean, because now he's signed.
Peachy's signed for the Gold Coast.
I don't know. They might try and go, alright, well, you can play utility off the bench, and we'll get this combination going. There is also talk of Mansour going to Para as well. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I like him as an option in the backs at 450, and got that awesome blow up potential.
Couple of cheapies. Viliamu Kikau and Moses Leota. Both of them find themselves, I guess, on that outer second row position. Whether they're bench players, whether they get that upgrade. Obviously, last year we saw big things from Corey Hawira and Nikau. I think Kikau can be, what was it? Corey Hawira Nira?
CHN.
Look, I think Kikau can be just as good this year. I think he's got that ability. Showed good things for Fiji in the World Cup. I just think, given the opportunity, that's what a lot of these guys need, is just that opportunity to get time on the park. This guy can be pretty damaging with the ball. Maloney on one side, Cleary on the other. Wherever he plays, I can just see points in this guy going through the roof. Yeah,
man, he reminds me of Sonny Bill in his build and that sort of thing. He's a handful. He showed it, glimpses of it last year, and we'll have to wait and see. I've heard that Leota's more of a chance of whatever it is people are expecting with Kikau in terms of maybe it's minutes or whatever. But keep an eye on both of them. I like Kikau better as a prospect because he has that that potential, that raw ability, but we'll have to wait and see. But hover above him,
Let's skip over the Dragons. Now, Dragons, they're just a team loaded with superstars in Supercoach. Gareth Widdop was massive last year. I kept waiting for him to slow up or to stop, and he just never did. Can score plenty of tons, kicks plenty of goals. He's their main playmaker. Biggest concern with him now, obviously, is Ben Hunt coming to the Dragons. I actually think that helps him. I think it gives him someone who gets him better ball from the inside to work with on the outside. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. 3 years ago, I think it might have been about 2015, he had a really good year, and I was a big fan of him Supercoach-wise. 2016, he only averaged 50 points, and it turned me off him big time. But last year, he went off. He blew up, and I couldn't convince myself that he was a gun because of what he did the season before that. Again, we had mentioned it before. I don't know the influence of Hunt. It might be good, it might be bad. You're taking a little bit of a risk because of his price and Hunt going there, but he'll kick goals. I'd say he keep kicking. I can't see anyone taking it.
Yeah, no.
That Dragons forward pack is one of the best forward packs on paper, in my opinion, in the comp. And when your forwards are going forward, it gives your halves that time and space that they need to be able to create things. And if he's going to play outside of Hunt or on one side, he's still got the potential. I just don't like his price because he had such a good year last year. There's some other guys I just prefer to pick, but pick him by all means. I think he's fine.
You talked about their forwards. Now, one bloke last year who absolutely blew up was Paul Vaughan. Came from the Canberra Raiders to the Dragons squad and just thrived. By all accounts, locally here in Canberra, there were a few riffs. He left town and just showed what he can actually do. Attacking wise, he was brilliant. We discussed him on the pod special earlier this week. Paul Vaughan, can he do it again? Can he match last year?
Yeah, mate, I guess he did. Like you said, he got a heap of attacking stats there. Like he was scoring a heap of tries and that sort of thing. Yeah, he's another one of those guys. He's a handful. He's really hard to stop when he gets going. In terms of his minutes, I can't quite recall his minutes. They weren't huge minutes, but he's just really effective.
Mate, he's a massive. I think he's close to 1.4 points per minute. Like he doesn't play massive minutes. It's probably around that sort of 50 to 55 minutes. For a front row in today's game, there are a few that sort of play towards the 65 to 70. But that's sort of where all these points came from. It wasn't base, it was attacking, it was tackle busts, it was tries, it was try assists and things like that. So, look, I put him in there as a sneaky pod. I don't have him purely because he's 600,000. That's my biggest concern, is I've sort of stacked elsewhere in my team. But yeah, look, I wouldn't doubt anyone if they put him in their team.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy, like within the first couple of weeks he could turn up.
Yeah.
And like if you started with him, you're a genius. Yeah, his price has just put me off, but yeah, he's that price for a reason. Yeah, I think he's still a good option though.
Partner him in the front row. They've brought in James Graham from the Bulldogs. Graham had somewhat of a quiet season last year. We saw his price drop a fair bit. He's at 460k this season. Again, maybe another little pod that can sort of...
I guess because they have such a good forward pack, what his role will be. But if he plays 50 minutes or something like that, he's still an option. And he's a good option in the front row at 460, where there isn't a lot of good options, I think, this year.
Yeah.
I know there's like a heap of cheaper front rowers, but he's one of those guys that has a bit of pedigree that could potentially be a really good buy at 460. We'll have to wait and see, but you can't question his work ethic, and he'll bring a lot of passion to that side. So we'll wait and see what happens there with Big James Graham. But yeah, option. In
the centres, they've got a couple of good options. Now I've gone Ewan Aiken in my team at 470, but on the other side of on the field, they've got Tim Laffey. Tim Laffey had a huge season last year. He just shows each, and it's base. It's sort of everything. He doesn't really need those attacking stats to do it. He's 560k, but you know, if you're after someone who's just going to get the job done for you, he's it.
Yeah, both of the St George centres I rate really highly Supercoach wise. They've got heaps of points in them. They're strong, they're fast, they break tackles, they can score tries. Hunt with it, feeding them a bit of ball. I think you couldn't go wrong with either of them. Aiken's significantly cheaper because Laffey had such a big year last year. But yeah, I can't really say too much more. If you want to go on because they're probably going to be good pods. Yeah. There's a heap of really good options in those centre wings there where a lot of people, they may be gone a little bit, they've maybe been a little bit forgotten about. Yeah. But yeah, I really like the prospects of either of them. I guess the issue is you've got one on each side and who are they going to go to some weeks. But yeah, I think they're both really good.
And just quickly, we'll touch on another guy people have been talking about. That's Luciano Leilua. My doubts are that he's going to get any game time. He's obviously shown plenty of ability. Does he get on the park?
Yeah, I think the rumour was that he was battling for a spot with Tarek Sims. Now, Tarek Sims is a proven first grader, so I don't know what's going on there. I think just the sheer fact that there is no cheapies this year, or what seems to be a lack of cheapies, a lot of people are just going to have him even if he's coming off the bench because he is only about 180k. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if he gets game time, he's really like...
If he gets game time, you've got to have him, yeah.
He's a handful. You know? Like, he can create things, he's a big thing, he can get some balls away and that sort of thing. So, I think a lot of people are going to have him, but not sure what he's going to eventually have to be, yeah.
Well, that's it for episode 4, guys. We'll be back on Teamless Tuesday. We're going to run another podcast on Teamless Tuesday night. We'll run through our teams. We'll show you who we've got for the season. It'll reveal a lot for everyone's teams. Give us a like on this video. Subscribe, follow us, and we'll see you all next week.
And I'm also going to have a little bit of a a surprise, or we're going to have a bit of a surprise for people in that next video. So make sure you tune in and have a listen to what we've got to say.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.